Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to show you the top 5 ARs to use in Warzone right now. It's been out for a couple of days. Everyone's kind of dropping these loadout videos on what's the best one and what's not the best one. If it's any particular gun you're just looking for, there are timestamps down below. Also in the description are the links to all my socials. I hope to see you in stream, and let's get straight into the video. I don't know about you guys, but personally for me, I feel like it takes longer to kill someone after breaking their armor. That's just me personally from playing the game. Let me know down below if you guys feel the same. I just feel like it's not really hitting as hard the second you break their armor. These are not like number 1 to number 5. These are the top 5 loadouts that everyone's using right now that are in contention for the absolute meta. I'm going to give you 2 types of loadouts. One with Gunfighter with all 8 attachments, and one with 5 attachments on how I would use that in a game situation. Starting off with the first gun is the GPR-91. Now this thing doesn't move. I think it's the easiest gun to control at any distance, and it feels amazing when running around the map with. Here is the 8 attachment loadout, and for me personally, this is what I get off rip buying from a buy station or even on my actual loadout. I feel like you find more SMGs in the game that are viable as a secondary, which will be in the next video, than you do in the AR to kind of run around with as a secondary when you pick up your loadout or buy your gun. With the optics, I prefer to use the RK multi-zoom, and I think the reticle is very, very clean. And as you can see, this thing doesn't really move. It has a little bit of shake long distance, but doesn't really move. It's still staying on the target. But as you zoom in, it seems so much easier. You have that kind of multi-zoom, yeah, as it says on the tin here with the name, to use at that distance. It's a little bit shaky, but if you're a bit of a player, if you're moving left to right and you're strafing, it obviously helps with that recoil, and it's easier to track that opponent there and then. That's kind of chest shots as well. If you haven't got the ported compensator, I would stick with the original. I wouldn't really touch the suppressor or the muzzle brake. I feel like it just affects the recoil completely. Now, I've seen so many different loadouts and changes to the barrel for this gun. For me, I've used the gain twist barrel. I don't know why. It just feels so much better than the long or the reinforced. But try these out for personal use. I really do think the gain twist really helps with tracking enemies out the air. With that bullet velocity, there's a little bit of an extra kick because this gun already hits like a truck. I'd rather have the extra bullet velocity than I would any damage range because I'm going to be hitting chests anyway. Precision foregrip. This kind of goes into recoil and idle sway. So obviously with that multi-zoom that I've got, it's easier for me to not sway around when I'm just standing still waiting for an enemy to peek or tracking them as well. It keeps it a little bit easier for me on that multi-zoom. Again, you don't have to run this. If you're not running anything like a 2 times or a 4 times, I'd say use the vertical grip. There's no reason to not to. It just helps with that horizontal recoil. Extended Mag 2, self-explanatory. Now, there's a few grips that a lot of people have been using. I think on SMGs, everyone's been using the CQB or the ergonomic one. But for me on ARs, it's either the Commando or the aim down sight speed one, which is a quick draw one. But you got the best of both worlds here with using the Commando grip. Balanced stock just helps with everything movement-wise. So if you are running around the map with this, then great. It's just good to use for movement speed, strafe speed, aim walking, idle speed as well. So, and then the last one is overpressured. A lot of people do changes between the recoil springs and overpressured. If you are struggling with using the multi-zoom optic, I would then suggest using recoil springs to help you with that. Going into the loadout, you can kind of see the difference. At distance, it really just doesn't miss at all. So if you want to use the recoil springs, they definitely do help a bunch. But here's a GPR in full 8 attachments. Make sure you take your screenshot. I'm going to go into a deep dive in this, and then all the other loadouts you will see the exact same way. So I use pretty much all the front runners. So the optic, the compensator, I actually need to change this, the gain twist barrel, the vertical grip, and the extended mag. Everything else I don't need. I don't need to use the rest. And this is mainly for a regain. Hence, you can see it's called GPR regain in my slot right here. Okay. What I mean by that is, if I'm on big map, for example, I've just come back from the gulag. Either I'm playing solos, duos, trios, quads, whatever it is. If it's solos, I come land in. I've got a field upgrade of a UAV and a utility box straight off the bat. So I can know I can land in, get my loadout, if it's clear, of course, get a UAV popped, get some armor plates, and get some ammo behind me. Also, if you're doing this with your team, it obviously helps your team whole regain as well. So maybe 3 of you can run this if you're in trios, because you all start with a UAV. 3 of you pop it. It's an advanced UAV. You can see where everything is on the map, and you can really move out slowly. Here's a GPR on a 5 attachment one. Make sure you take your screenshot. But now coming into probably what is the hardest hitting AR at the moment right now, which we've all seen from True Game Data and COD Community and the other guys, is the XM4. Now, this is what they call the old reliable. Going into the attachments, we're using the multi-zoom. I actually have changed this on a few other occasions. If I'm using it on Rebirth, I'm using the Jason Armory 2 times, which is super, super clean. To go into the firing range here, as you can see, the crosshairs are so clean, and it just feels so much nicer. And it's a 2 times as well, so it's not too deep into the 3 times, but it's so clean. And there's actually some really nice blueprints in the store with the XM4 at the moment as well. Going into this, it's a little bit different to what we have for the GPR. I feel like there is really no kind of bullet drop in the terms of bullet velocity for this kind of gun. The M4 just feels like when you're tracking out the air, use it for yourself, you pretty much hit scam with it anywhere on area 99. What we've got is obviously the Jason Armory 2 times. We've got the compensator because there's barely any kick recoil at the start, unlike the GPR where it bounces up at the start. With the M4, it's like none at all. So using the compensator is absolutely fine. You could actually use a suppressor on this if you want to play a bit more slower and a bit more quieter. Reinforced barrel, I think, is the best one. Few people have used the gain twist if you haven't unlocked the if you haven't unlocked the reinforced, using the gain twist is actually 10 times better, because I've used that when unlocking this gun. I actually didn't have this fully ranked up till yesterday, so the reinforced is the number one. The precision grip as well, if you're using that multi-zoom, of course. If you're not using the multi-zoom, make sure you use the vertical foregrip. We've got the extended mag 2 for obviously 60 round mags. Commando grip, same with the last one as well, with aim and sprint to fire speed. We have a balanced stock, again, for strafe speed and hip fire and movement as well. And then the last one is recoil springs. You don't really need ever pressure or FMJ on this. If you do want to increase the little bit of damage range, sure. But again, it's for bullet velocity, which there's pretty much none when it comes to area 99. And then obviously the damage range is only penetration stuff. A lot of stuff in this game, unlike the last Warzone, is not as wall bangable as possible. And it doesn't do too much damage. Whereas last Warzone, you could wall bang anything and people will be dead in 3 bullets. So here's the full loadout. Make sure you take your screenshot. And let's go on to the next one. For the 5 attachment M4, we have the Jason Armory, the portal compensator, the reinforced grip, the vertical grip, and obviously the extended mag 2. So pretty much like I said, on all the ARs, it's basically all the back ones are off and all the front ones for main damage input, and obviously clean sights is what we're on. So here's your screenshot, make sure you take it. On to the next one, which I actually think is the cleanest gun to use, which is the Model L. It feels so nice in the hands. It's really easy to control recoil because there is little to none, and I feel like it hits like a truck. This has gone a little bit under the radar. A lot of people were running this at the start because it was meta in multiplayer, but I still think this is viable in definitely the top 3 right now. It's pretty much basically the same loadout as what the M4 was. The only slight change we've made is putting a suppressor on it. Because it has great recoil control already, we do not need to use a compensator on this. It is actually nicer, and it sounds really clean as well with the suppressor, but you do not need to use it at all. The fire mod is the recoil springs. Again, it's just so much easier to have this because there's little to none bullet velocity on area 99. We feel like such a compressed and small map when shooting people out the air or tracking people on a run. You're not really gaining anything by putting bullet velocity on this kind of gun. Same with the M4. Make sure you take your screenshot. Going on to the regain class, we have all the front runners again. Extended mag, reinforced barrel, vertical grip, suppressor, and Jason Armory sight. If you do want to change this, obviously, because you're now not using recoil springs, you can obviously change this for any of the compensators. I recommend the first one because there's not much kick recoil again with the Model L at the start like there is any others. So if we go into the firing range here, you can see there's like a little bit of kick, but nothing that's too drastic. And matter of fact, it probably helps the average player who doesn't aim for the head, like most of us do, who are probably a bit better at the game, or above the average, should I say. It has a little bit of a kick at the start, as you can see, then it helps to go towards the head. So here's the 5 attachment regain class. Make sure you take your screenshot. Now here's a gun I see a lot of people actually trying because it is really good off ground when you pick up the gold one, is the Ames. Now, when we talk about a fast fire rate with 0 recoil, this matches the M4 straight off the rip. As you can see, this isn't clearly maxed out, but this is the actual loadout that everyone's been using and rocking. I've actually used this as well. It feels incredible with that fast fire rate, that kind of close to medium range fights that you would take with an AR. It absolutely melts and would definitely contest any M4 in the game. Because there's little to no recoil, we don't have to sacrifice the recoil springs. You can use overpressured or FMJ. I personally use overpressured because it helps with that bullet velocity tracking, whereas in the air, it's a little bit less than what the actual M4 is. So you do have to lead your shots a little bit more. With that fast fire rate, you can kind of understand that lead time pretty quickly. Again, going into it, we've got the compensator for that recoil control. You probably could use the silencer, but I prefer the compensator over this just for this gun. The long barrel, again, either between the gain twist or the long barrel to try to rank it up. But again, because there's little bullet velocity on this gun, you don't really need to use that extended for it. So I'd recommend using the long barrel just for that extra damage range because it does drop off quite quickly. The vertical foregrip, again, for recoil control. Extended mag 1, because that's all I have at the moment, which is 45 bullets, which is still fine for rebirth. If you're using it on big map, I'd recommend using the extended mag 2, which obviously gives you 60 round mags. The commando foregrip, of course, and then the balanced stock. So that's the loadout. Make sure you take your screenshot. Going into the 5 attachment version of this, I've actually not used an underbarrel. I've kept the rear grip of the commando grip on because, again, there's literally no recoil. A little bit is shake left and right, but if you're strafing left and right, as you can see here, it kind of cancels it out. So moving left and right really helps cancel out that recoil that you're going to be using. As you can see here, it goes pretty much straight up and towards the left a little bit. So if you're moving side to side, left and right, and then bringing that other stick down only by the little bit as well, you'll be absolutely fine to control that recoil. So like I said, we've replaced the grip here with the underbarrel just for this gun. That's the 5 attachment regain one. Make sure you take your screenshot. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what other kind of loadouts you want to see. As I say, all the timestamps are down below if you missed them. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.